the intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome back, Star Trek League of Man fans. Today, I want to talk about the new research tree, the star paths, and the new Nova building. A little bit about the Nova building. We're actually going to focus on the research tree, not really the Nova building itself, but we will briefly kind of go over it. The basics of how the Nova building works are, well, basic. Kind of quote the word in the definition. But beyond that, I think it's important to kind of really explain how things work. And to do that, we're going to take a look at the research tree itself, but actually dive a little bit deeper than we normally would on how researches work, specifically because these are working with the original 3 status effects. And this is going to apply to both new players and existing players, because I don't think a lot of people understand or remember even what all of these do. And with me having an account that's getting higher and higher at my lower level, this is my level 19, soon to be 20 on server 710. Then, of course, the main one that y'all see every day. With both of those having different play styles, both of them can eventually benefit from this. Obviously not 19, but you get what I'm saying. So let's take a look at it and jump right in. So we've got the star path right here. Now, if you're curious how you earn this material, that is going to be, part of your upgrade path and redeem path. But you see, I haven't touched anything. I've actually left these alone so that we can have this. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you how these status effects work. So clearly, this is starting off with burning, hull breach, and morale. But what do those different things do? Well, there are actually 4 status effects in the game. This is 3 of them. This is going over the original 3. And to kind of cover what the originals did, here's hull breach right here. Hey, actually, this is taking up a little bit too much of the screen. How about we make this a little bit smaller so you can still see the researchers? There we go. So this is hull breach. Now, I think most people out there would argue that hull breach is the most valuable of all 4, honestly, but of the original 3 especially. And a lot of that is just because the original 3, 1, didn't have great abilities to begin with, and 2 have kind of gotten more dated as you go along. But I will add that depending on where you're at level-wise, it could be different. So let me know if you have any of these that you prefer right now. But let me use some examples. Hull breach is pretty universal because most players use it in PvP, PvE, armadas, etc. Hull breach gets put everywhere. People want to have Hugh below decks, and they want to have B'Elanna Torres, or they want to have Gorkon or Lorca. You see these combinations quite often. But what are you actually getting from it? So hull breach actually gives you a 1.5, or essentially 150%, but a 1.5 multiplier to critical damage, making those critical shots even stronger, which then also helps with isolytic. Then beyond that, you also have what is done with burning and then piercing values through morale. So morale, which will be this middle row right here, morale in the background will give you a small, very, very, very small bonus to your piercing stat, but specifically your main piercing stat. It's a 10% bonus to your primary piercing stat. As you can imagine, that's not very good. Certainly not what this is doing. And then burning, which you want here on the bottom row, is a little bit, the top row is a little bit different in that it gives a 1% direct whole health reduction of 1% of whatever the whole health is at the start of the round. So it won't take away 100% of the hull in 100 rounds, but it will take away 1% in the background each round as it progresses. It does do some slight damage, and back in the day, players would use these abilities to do things like, score or be more competitive in leaderboards and such for that. So let's talk about what you actually want to do here. Now, if you are a lower level player, I'm going to classify you as in the 30s as lower level. You're probably going to want to focus on morale. Why? Because most players at that level are probably going after the Enterprise, and I'm curious if anybody isn't. But the Enterprise is known for having a very, very good ship ability. Probably the most effective ship ability in the game as a whole. There's an argument for another ship to be there, but depending on combat ability, the Enterprise is probably the strongest. So that means you're probably going to rely on morale. So now you're looking at, okay, so if we have morale, well, now we can actually add shield health repair. Okay, what else can we add? Well, more mitigation with morale, and then finally more isolytic. Now you'll notice these 3 are the same for all 3 sets, for burning, morale, and hull breach. And I think that's okay, and we'll kind of go over where you should focus things. And again, I'm saying this as somebody who absolutely loves the Enterprise, loves the Tribune and stuff, but maybe they're not always needed at that particular time. But if you're at a lower level, you're going to want to focus on these. Now, which would be the first one to focus on? Depending on which one of these you need at the moment, and I'll kind of go over where they're important in terms of players, you're going to want to start with isolytic, in my opinion. Isolytic is currently the best damage creator in the game. It's technically stronger than criticals and hull breach, though they all kind of work together in the same jumbled math formula because you have standard damage calculation. Then after that, you're going to calculate criticals with hull breach. And then after that, you're going to do isolytic. So, I mean, they all work on the same string, but the isolytic can have the most effective result in the end. So that means if you're doing morale, if you're playing the 30s, going after an enterprise where morale will be your primary status effect, right here, increasing isolytic damage while your ship has morale, maxing out at a whopping 20%. Might not seem like a lot, but pretty good. Even 5% is pretty good, especially when you're talking about being a lower level player, which 30s at this point in the game is kind of lower level. Now, let's say you're moving up into the mid levels, or you're a G4, G5 player. Burning has advantages. In fact, the auger in the 30s should not be slept on, can be valuable. Same idea. You want to start with isolytic. If you have a Tribune, like I picked up at level 50, very valuable ship, will really benefit from these up here. Now, the most universal one to go after would be these, the hull breach ones. Hull breach is simply universally good. Doesn't mean that, you don't need to go after morale or you don't need to go after burning. Just that you're probably going to have hull breach as an effective use from the start of your game up to the end. And it just kind of fits a lot of categories. Whereas morale and burning are a little bit more niche, but it should be added that there's more than just ship abilities to consider here. What do I mean by that? Well, come over to your artifacts gallery. And yes, we will have to make a video covering the new artifacts. We will do that sometime in the near future. So be watching for Jordy's visor and everything. But if you hit the little I button, you're going to see, oh, look at all these things. If you remember, there are specific artifacts that will be boosted based on status effects. So if we look through all these, you're going to see isolytic ones, which is good to have. ISO damage against players, again, good to have. If you go back to some of the original ones they first launched, they're going to have morale, hull breach, and burning based on you simply existing. So if you create burning, these are then going to boost things. As in, now you have a reason to use burning on a battleship, because knowing that I'm using burning on a battleship is going to give me a boost or make things better, make things stronger, etc. So you have some good artifacts that have bonus effects too. So it's not just whether like your Tribune gets a bonus with an amazing ship ability. It's okay, my battleship wants burning to get these buffs. Well, not only am I going to get artifact buffs, now I'm actually going to get research buffs as well to take advantage of. So just for the sake of the video, I'm going to go ahead and click these here. Now, I will also add that I've appreciated recent additions to the research tree. And yes, Scopely, I'm saying something positive. Hear this one. And let me know if you agree in the comment section. I actually really like that they've lowered these timers. Like a lot of the new researchers coming out of the mirror tree and here don't have crazy times. Like, look, 3 seconds. And I'm boosting up my ISO when hull breach is active, because again, this is kind of a universal thing. I'll go ahead and take it here. Not saying you'll need to do these all today when you watch this video, but something to keep in mind. Maybe if you're doing a domination video or domination run, which there is a domination ticket event going on right now. So I am getting some loot while making this video. Efficiency is always good. Now, I did mention that I was going to talk about claiming the materials for this. So if you remember, in your building resources, you get the Nova Squad supply, and that also is going to help you, number one, upgrade your building. That's also, kind of a focal point. But when you upgrade your building, that's going to give you more of the star currency so that you can then do the researches. I will admit that I don't like the multi-step process. Again, Scopely, I gave you something positive. Now I got to take something negative from you. I don't like the, oh, do this to this to this. Why can't we just all do it at once? But that is going to be how it works in general. And as you can see, the building itself has good values. Shield health bonus, special building materials cost efficiency. We always like efficiencies, and a weapons damage boost. But the real value here is definitely in the research tree, specifically with the isolytic, but also, again, no slouch on the shield or the mitigation values. All those researchers are good. I would simply encourage doing the isolytic ones first. But as you see, you level this building up. Let's just say you get it to level 30. Look what you're getting. 590% shields. That's a lot more survivability for your ships down there. Then you get the efficiency right there, weapons damage, and there are your research node payouts. Then you say you get up to like 40 or 50. Let's use 50 as an example. 1,600% with a 50% efficiency boost and a 760 weapons bonus. And again, I do complain and gripe about power creep a lot. And I hope me speaking positively about these numbers doesn't change that. I can equally dislike power creep, but also still tell you when things can be valuable to you as a player. And yeah, some of these bigger boosts are needed now because of power creep. It's a double-edged sword, right? And unless they're going to reset things, well, we have to know what has value. And just like we had a great conversation recently about Fleet Commander Lorca, where you saw some players have the, see the value in getting him early, and some see the value in waiting to obtain him. No matter what you do, more is more, right? So if you can get more, get more. This is as a free-to-play path, so you can start working on it, thus opening up more opportunities to go after the star path. Now, because the acquisition of these materials is a little slow, you will need to be picky and choosy about what you go after. Because as you see, since it came out, I just now got 4 levels here, and that means I don't have any of the others researched. So you do need to be tactical, because going through this research tree will take time. Doesn't make that a bad thing, just makes it a fact. So as you're going through and studying this and deciding what works for you, keep in mind maybe what is valuable long term. Again, kind of why I'm focusing on hull breach. Not to say that burning and morale don't deserve your research upgrades, just that the one that you're going to use, the average player out there, the longest is this bottom row. And unless you want to go hunting through the store to see if there's a pack that sells these materials, that you can just have it all now, which you can come through and look at the top like, well, I don't see anything there. Go into your limited offers. Well, don't see anything there. And even go into your research tab and, well, I don't see anything there either. So you're making that decision based on what you're upgrading, knowing that you have limited materials. You want to be as effective as you possibly can. At least I would assume everybody wants to be effective as they possibly can. So that's my research, that's my advice, and that's my opinion. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you think. If you disagree, more than welcome to differing opinions, and I'll catch you on the next STFC video. Out, we're gone. That's it. Bye.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.